The terminal buzzed with typical airport chaos, travelers dragging luggage, children crying, announcements echoing through the concourse. But Colonel David Carter wasn't focused on any of that. His mind was on the sacred duty that had brought him here, escorting the fallen hero home to his family. Staff Sergeant Michael Rodriguez had been just 24 when an improvised explosive device claimed his life in Afghanistan. Now, Carter, a decorated officer with 22 years of service, had volunteered for one of the military's most solemn responsibilities. He would ensure that Rodriguez made it home with the dignity and honor he deserved. Carter approached the airline counter at Denver International Airport, his dress blues immaculate, his bearing proud. The young gate agent barely looked up from her computer screen as he presented his military travel orders. "I need to inform you that I'm serving as a military escort," Carter said clearly. "I'm accompanying the remains of a fallen soldier on this flight." The agent's fingers stopped clicking on the keyboard. She frowned at the paperwork, then at Carter's uniform. "Sir, I don't see anything in our system about special accommodations. You'll need to pay for any upgrades or changes to your seating." Carter remained patient. He'd dealt with civilian misunderstanding before. "Ma'am, military escorts have priority seating near the front of the aircraft. This is standard protocol when we're accompanying fallen service members. I'm sorry, sir, but our policy is clear. If you want to change your seat assignment, there's a fee." The agent's tone was dismissive, already looking past him to the next customer in line. That's when Carter noticed other passengers beginning to watch the exchange. A veteran in a worn baseball cap stepped closer, recognizing the situation. Word began to spread quietly through the gate area. This soldier was bringing someone home. Carter tried once more. "This isn't about personal preference. When we transport our fallen, there are protocols that ensure dignity and respect. I need to be positioned where I can properly fulfill my escort duties." The supervisor who approached wore the same indifferent expression. "Sir, you can purchase a seat upgrade for $150, or you can take your assigned seat in the back. We can't make exceptions for everyone who claims to have special circumstances." The word "claims" hung in the air like a challenge. That's when something remarkable happened. The veteran in the baseball cap stepped forward. "Excuse me, miss, but this officer isn't making a request. He's performing a sacred duty." His voice carried the authority of someone who'd walked in similar boots. Others began to gather. A businessman overheard the conversation and quietly approached Carter. "Colonel, I'm in first class, seat 3A. Please take my seat. It would be my honor." But the airline personnel weren't finished. "Sir, you can't just give away your seat. There are procedures, fees for seat changes." An older woman, her voice sharp with indignation, interrupted. "Young lady, do you understand what this man is doing? He's bringing someone's child home. Someone who died serving our country." The terminal gate area had grown unusually quiet. Other passengers, initially absorbed in their phones and conversations, began to understand what was happening. A mother traveling with 2 young children whispered something to her kids, who immediately stood and faced Carter with the kind of respect usually reserved for the flag. The airline supervisor, sensing the shift in mood but still focused on policy, doubled down. "Look, I understand this seems important to you all, but we have regulations. We can't start making exceptions because of someone's job." That word "job" was the final straw. A retired Marine, his military bearing unmistakable despite civilian clothes, stepped directly in front of the supervisor. His voice was quiet, controlled, but carried the weight of absolute authority. "Ma'am, this isn't a job. This is a sacred trust. This officer has volunteered to ensure that a fallen hero gets home to his family with dignity. And you're going to help him do that." The businessman who'd offered his seat spoke up again. "I'll pay whatever fees are necessary for the seat change. Just make it happen." But by now, the entire gate area was involved. Passengers were standing, some with hands over hearts. A woman was crying quietly. The veteran in the baseball cap had removed his hat, revealing the deep lines of someone who'd seen too much. The gate agent looked around nervously. Her supervisor whispered urgently into a phone. Other airline employees had gathered, drawn by. The growing crowd and the unusual tension. Then the airport public address system crackled to life. Ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to acknowledge Colonel David Carter, who is serving as military escort for fallen soldier Staff Sergeant Michael Rodriguez on Flight 1247 to Los Angeles. We ask that you join us in a moment of silence to honor Sergeant Rodriguez's sacrifice. The entire gate area fell silent. Not just quiet, completely silent. Travelers stopped walking. Conversations ceased. Even the children seemed to understand. The solemnity of the moment. When the announcement ended, something had changed. The airline supervisor, her face flushed with embarrassment, approached Carter directly. "Colonel, please accept our apologies. We'll arrange priority boarding and seating immediately. There will be no fees." But Carter wasn't done. In his clear, carrying voice, he addressed everyone who had gathered. Sergeant Rodriguez was 24 years old. He volunteered to serve his country, deployed to Afghanistan, and made the ultimate sacrifice so that others could be free. Today, all of you have honored his memory by demanding that he be treated with the respect he earned. The applause started slowly, one person clapping, then another. Soon the entire gate area was applauding, some people wiping away tears. The businessman who'd offered his seat shook Carter's hand firmly. The retired Marine rendered a crisp salute. The mother with children approached, her kids in tow, to personally thank Carter for his service. When Flight 1247 began boarding, something unprecedented happened. The captain himself came to the gate, sought out Carter, and personally escorted him aboard. The flight attendants had prepared a special announcement for all passengers, explaining the presence of fallen service member Rodriguez in the cargo. Hold below. As the plane took off, carrying Sergeant Rodriguez on his final journey home, Carter reflected on what had just happened. It wasn't just about airline policy or seat assignments. It was about a moment when ordinary Americans chose to honor extraordinary sacrifice. The airline's initial response had been bureaucratic and cold. But faced with the collective will of passengers who understood what was at stake, they'd been forced to remember that some things matter more than procedures and profit margins. When Carter delivered Sergeant Rodriguez to his family in Los Angeles, he would tell them about this flight. He'd tell them how complete strangers stood up for their son's honor, how Americans of every background united in a moment to ensure their fallen hero was treated with dignity. In a world that often seems divided, where cynicism runs deep and respect appears to be fading, this moment proved something important. That honor still means something, that sacrifice is still recognized, and that when tested, Americans will still stand up for what's right. Airline had tried to treat a sacred duty like ordinary business. They discovered, in front of a gate full of witnesses, that when it comes to honoring our fallen, ordinary business doesn't apply. Some battles are fought with weapons. Others are fought in airport terminals, with nothing more than moral courage and the collective will of people who refuse to let honor be diminished by indifference. Colonel Carter won this battle not through military might, but through the simple power of standing firm in righteous purpose while others stood with him. In doing so, he ensured that Staff Sergeant Michael Rodriguez completed his final mission with the dignity every fallen hero deserves. The airline learned a valuable lesson that day. When Americans see honor being disrespected, they don't stay silent. They stand up, they speak out, and they make sure the right thing gets done. That's not policy. That's patriotism in action.